For almost 4 billion years, life on Earth was, well, it was a pretty slow and quiet affair. You could say it was a simple story told in just a single chapter. And then, in what was basically a geological instant, everything changed. A biological Big Bang just erupted, completely rewriting the rules of life and creating the blueprints for nearly every animal alive today. Yeah, including us. So let's dive into this incredible event, the Cambrian explosion. To really get a handle on the explosion, we have to go back to the world that came before it. So I want you to imagine yourself on the seafloor, 555 million years ago. This is the Ediacaran period. The water's dim, the continents look all wrong, and the whole landscape, it's just utterly strange. The seafloor is covered in this thick, slimy carpet of microbes. You've got these weird frond-like things and these kind of quilted mattress-like creatures just swaying gently. But here's the thing. They don't have mouths or guts or brains. They just absorb nutrients from the water. It's a world without chase, a world without fear. There are no teeth, no claws, no shells. For billions of years, nothing has ever wanted to eat anything else. And then the whole world gets turned completely upside down. In a window of time so short, it barely even registers in the deep history of our planet. This silent, static world, it just vanishes completely. Suddenly, the seafloor is a battlefield. Armor appears, exoskeletons and shells. Weapons evolve, sharp spines, crushing claws. And for the very first time, complex eyes are staring out into the water, hunting. This is the Cambrian period. And it's not just a change, it's a revolution. So what on earth happened? What was the trigger? What lit the fuse that caused this just unprecedented explosion of complexity and diversity? For over 160 years, this has been one of the absolute greatest mysteries in the history of science. And you know who is most baffled by it? The guy who gave us the framework to understand evolution in the first place, Charles Darwin. For him, the Cambrian explosion wasn't just some puzzle, it was a potentially fatal flaw in his entire theory. See, Darwin's whole theory of natural selection is built on the idea of gradual change. He imagined life evolving slowly, step by step, over these immense stretches of time. His tree of life should have really deep roots, with countless simple ancestors branching out and slowly changing into more complex forms. But when he looked at the fossil record, that's not what he saw. And this is what's so amazing. He admitted it, right there and on The Origin of Species. He wrote that the sudden appearance of all these complex animals in the oldest fossil-bearing rocks was a serious problem. In his own words, he said, the case may be truly urged as a valid argument against the views here entertained. And this just lays out his dilemma perfectly. On the one hand, his theory predicted this long, slow ramp-up of ancestors. But on the other hand, the rocks were showing him nothing, and then suddenly everything. Dozens of complex animal groups, all appearing seemingly out of nowhere, already fully formed. Darwin really hoped that future fossil hunters would find those missing ancestors in even older rocks. And, we did find Precambrian fossils, but they weren't what he expected. We found microscopic bacteria and those bizarre Ediacaran creatures, but not the direct intermediate ancestors of Cambrian animals. In fact, finding these well-preserved soft-bodied fossils only made the problem worse. It showed the rocks could have saved those ancestors, if they were ever there to begin with. So if the missing ancestors aren't in the rocks, the problem isn't the record. It's gotta be our understanding of the cause. Darwin's dilemma really forces us to look for something else, a trigger, a spark that could have set off this massive cascading effect. For decades now, modern science has been split into two major camps. On one side, you have the environmental camp. They argue that the world changed first. The idea was that this huge surge in oxygen in the atmosphere and oceans finally provided the fuel needed for big, energetic animals. But then you have the ecological camp, who argued that life itself changed first, that the evolution of the very first predator created a new reality, eat or be eaten, and that kicked off the whole evolutionary arms race. And this creates this fantastic chicken and egg problem, right? Did a big burst of oxygen suddenly give predators the green light to evolve? Or did the desperate need to escape those first predators force prey into new oxygen-rich areas, creating a demand that nature then had to supply? For a long time, it seemed like a massive oxygen spike had to have come first. But some really recent research is flipping that idea on its head. A 2024 Stanford study found that the Cambrian explosion didn't need a huge global oxygen increase at all. It looks like only a tiny increase was needed to get the ball rolling, which really suggests that the ecological trigger, that first predator, might have been the real spark. And you can totally see how this would cascade in what some scientists call the ecological snowball effect. Okay, so step 1. It all starts with one new thing. The first big predator shows up. Step 2. Immediately, prey are forced to evolve defenses, things like hard shells, sharp spines. Step 3. Well, that, in turn, drives the predators to get better weapons and senses, like crushing claws and complex eyes. And step 4. This back-and-forth arms race just puts evolution into overdrive, creating thousands of new ways to live and fundamentally rewriting the entire ecosystem. So we have these really powerful theories, but what about the hard evidence? I mean, our entire picture of this period comes from just a handful of incredible fossil sites. They're called Lagerstätten, and they're places where the conditions were just so perfect that not just bones and shells, but soft stuff, guts, eyes, muscles were preserved. These are our only real windows into the Cambrian world. The story of how we found them is pretty amazing in itself. It all started back in 1909 when a paleontologist named Charles Walcott literally stumbled upon the Burgess Shale high up in the Canadian Rockies. For decades, that was our only real glimpse. Then, in 1984, the Chengjiang biota was found in China, and it was even older, which proved the explosion happened even earlier and faster than we thought. And it just keeps going. Sites like the Guangjiang biota in 2019 and the recent discovery of creatures like Mazura fentini are adding incredible new details, showing us a world that was way more diverse and bizarre than we ever could have imagined. So let's talk about one of the superstars of the Cambrian, the trilobite. These arthropods were wildly successful. I mean, they diversified into thousands of species. But what's so critical here is that they were among the very first animals to evolve sophisticated multi-lensed compound eyes. And think about that. The evolution of sight changed everything. The world went from a place of just smells and chemicals to a place of images, of hunters and of prey. But honestly, the trilobites were almost normal compared to some of their neighbors. The fossils from these sites revealed creatures that look like they're straight out of science fiction. You had Opabinia with its 5 stalked eyes and this long hose-like appendage with a claw on the end. When it was first shown at a scientific conference, the audience literally laughed out loud. You had the fearsome Anomalocaris, the top predator of its day. And then there was Hallucigenia, this spiky walking worm so strange that for 50 years paleontologists had it reconstructed upside down, walking on its spines with its legs waving in the air. It's really easy to look at these creatures as just bizarre alien curiosities. But the Cambrian explosion isn't some ancient disconnected event. It's the foundation of our world. It's our story. I mean, just think about the timescale. For about 85% of life's entire history on this planet, it was dominated by microbes and simple, squishy organisms. An immense, almost unimaginable stretch of time that was defined by its stability. And then, in a period of about 20 million years, that's less than 0.5% of life's history, that quiet world was shattered. In that creative frenzy, the basic body plans for almost every single animal alive today were forged. Arthropods, mollusks, even the very first chordates, our own distant ancestors, they all got their start in the Cambrian seas. Your body's symmetry, your head with all its senses packed in one place, your gut that runs from one end to the other. These aren't just random evolutionary quirks. They are solutions that were hammered out during the intense, competitive pressure of the Cambrian explosion. We are all living, breathing heirs of this ancient revolution. And that really leaves us with a final, kind of profound thought. The eddy-current world lasted for billions of years. It was safe, silent, and stable. The Cambrian revolution ended it in a geological heartbeat. So the question isn't just what caused it, but what does it mean for our understanding of life? That the entire biosphere, the very nature of existence on this planet, can change so completely and so very, very fast.
If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future curiosities.